Before I say anything else, I want to say no matter what you've done, you deserve respect. Smash!
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Room Went Dark, the true crime in film, where we discuss film, TV and documentaries, all based on real events. I'm your host Lorraine and I'm joined by Amalie. Hello, Amalie.
Hello.
Hello. That's just your thing really now, isn't it? Hello.
Hello. I might change it up.
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, okay. It's been a busy week. And yeah, I'm off out tonight as well. So I'm just trying to...
Where are you going?
Friends 40th.
Oh.
It's just to a pub in Bristol. And we've all got to dress our best gothy selves.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's good.
And bring some food, which I don't think I'm going to have time to do.
All right. Well, we'll do this and the next one, and then you can bugger off to cook something and I can go and get Riley.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But this week we are going to talk about a very bizarre story. And it was a documentary that came up on Netflix called what was he called again? Oh my God, my brain. The Hatchet-Wielding Hitchhiker. And that's Kai, a guy called Kai, whose real name is Caleb Lawrence McGilvery, who was born in Alberta, Canada on September 3rd, 1988. And he basically became this viral sensation. I mean, and it wasn't really a thing back then because it was 2013 when in Fresno, California, he saved someone by hitting them on the head with a hatchet, which to me sounds quite extreme but obviously I wasn't there and in the moment, and some of them say he hit with the handle, then he hit with the actual axe part of it. It's a hatchet like an axe, it is, isn't it? Yeah. I was thinking of a machete. I had a machete in my head for some reason. And he just turned into this crazy overnight thing where everyone wanted a piece of him. And he spoke to a Jessup Rysick, who was a KMPH guy who usually did sports news, but somehow they were short staffed or something. He got sent to talk to him after this, altercation. And then it just went nuts. Like, had you ever heard of this before, or was this your first time watching it?
Oh no, I'd watched it already.
Oh, had you? Because I did. I started watching it and then I didn't finish it for some reason. So this is my first time fully watching it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm wondering whether I got to the end of it as well now. Yeah, I think when it first came out on Netflix, because it was last year, wasn't it? I think it came onto Netflix, possibly.
Oh, I think it was.
Might have even been earlier than that. Might have been 2023.
Yeah, I think it was 2023. Yeah.
And I remember it coming out on Netflix. I remember sort of watching it. Whether I got to the end of it, I don't know. But just sort of remember sort of thinking like, what a mad guy. So it was quite good to come back and rewatch it and sort of pick up different things from it that perhaps maybe I hadn't kind of like thought about before. Like the fact that, I mean, the fact that he had a hatchet,
As you do.
kind of actually in my mind, like, he, as he said, was like home free or something, wasn't it? Like sort of, he was transient and basically was homeless and didn't have lived without a home. So I could see why he would have some sort of survival tool, maybe.
Yeah.
But then I don't think it really made sense for like, I guess he did travel around everywhere, so fine. But using the hatchet, on a person is a different kettle of fish entirely.
Yeah, because he like when he's being interviewed, the first time, he is a bit like wacky and all over the place and comes across as just like this guy who's a bit of a free spirit who just likes to do his own thing and do what he wants when he wants, kind of thing, and living off the land and the generosity and all that kind of stuff of other people.
Yeah.
And he's a very kind of like likable person in that first meeting of him. And he's quite sweet and innocent and endearing and all these things. And you're kind of like automatically drawn into like, Jesus, who is this guy? I don't, he's wacky as hell, but there's something there. But then
Yeah.
as it progresses, you kind of like, this was before even any of the murder took place. I'm like, this guy needs to be monitored. His
Sure. Yeah.
behavior
Monitored.
was, no, he did, like, to me, his behavior was so erratic and just, like he needed some help or something, that
Yeah.
it didn't, the beginning bit kind of was the nice bit. And then it just, and I know, as we've said, when we talk about documentaries are designed to, make you look at certain ways and stuff like that. But I feel like this was his personality. And then, as we said, everyone wanted a piece, like literally everybody. And I always find it so bizarre. Like, don't get me wrong, great, you saved someone from being hurt,
Mm.
but it's weird how over the years we've seen like these things turn into an absolute viral sensation. Like that girl that says, I'll spit on that thing. Like she got
Yeah, yeah,
offered this, that, and the
the
other.
Hawk 2
And
girl.
then Hawk 2 girl, yeah.
Yeah.
And then another girl who was she did a little reel going, step to the beat, and then went like that. And then she's like got all the, and I'm just like, you think of all these actors back in the 90s and stuff and before, like waiting tables, slogging out audition, and then they go, jump to the beat, and they're like, hey, let's give you all the money. And you're kind of like,
Yeah, instant
it's for
millionaires
me, that
overnight.
kind of fame through these types of things, I think is, I just don't understand it.
I find it kind of icky, if I'm honest, like from the perspective of the people that are trying to help them be millionaires. It's this kind of like, let's make you this, overnight
Yeah.
sensation. We're going to make lots of money for
Funny.
you, but also off of you,
Yeah.
and it is that kind of yeah, let's build you up, put you as under the spotlight on the biggest pedestal that we can find, and then at some point you're going to fall straight off of it, you know. And once they're done with you, and off you go. And you might
Well,
have a couple of million in the bag or something, which is great, if it sorts you out for the rest of your life. Although I think probably a couple of million probably wouldn't these days, quite
but
honestly. But
but that's the thing. It's like I think that because you hear a lot about people that become like singers or whatever, and the amount of money that goes to their, recording places, like, and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I think stuff like this, he would make money, but I think his percentage of what was coming in, I don't, they'd be getting more than what he would. And you see, um, like when the X Factor used to play out, and you would see all these young people, I mean all ages, but especially young people who probably harder to kind of like, wrap their heads around it and stuff.
mm,
And they're getting this taste of what it's like to be a celebrity, this taste of everybody wants a piece of you. They're going to red carpet events, they're being invited onto Jimmy Kimmel like this guy, and then it's gone.
yeah,
And that's the thing, is when these things happen, and especially when you got someone like him who, as you watch it, he doesn't seem like he's fully there. Um, it's gone. You become a has been
mm,
without even trying to get it. Like, so he didn't actively seek fame. Do you know what I mean? And I think
yeah,
that that's the sad thing with some of these people. They either just want to be a singer, not necessarily be famous, but they want to be a singer and stuff like that. Or he wants, he wasn't seeking this, and they get thrown into this world that they can't control. It's a lot bigger than them.
yeah.
And like, I mean, I thought it was ridiculous how everybody was jumping all over him, and he couldn't deal with it.
No, he couldn't deal
He
with
in on
it.
things that Jimmy
Yeah.
Kimmel, like when he went to Jimmy Kimmel, trying to contact him, couldn't even do that. It was just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, and how much people just didn't give a shit. They just wanted money. They wanted the money off the back of him, like you said.
Yeah, and they quite openly were talking about it in this way of like, you know, oh, he's an unpredictable character. You never know what he's going to say or do next. As if that's like a brilliant way to make. I mean, I guess it is a brilliant way to make
Mm.
money of him, but you got to question your morals and your values about picking out a person that obviously is actually, I want to say vulnerable because I do think he is. He is incredibly intelligent. You
Yes.
can tell, like he's well read, like. his ability to learn things, he's like a sponge. Like some of the things he was talking about, even if he's kind of, regurgitating
Mm.
knowledge, it's still there. He's retaining it, and you can get a sense that he's actually a very intelligent guy, but potentially, somewhere on the ADHD spectrum, potentially a couple, would fit probably under a couple of other mental health disorders as well. Um, but also, is that only sort of one part of him? Because, like you said, by the time he then gets arrested, it sort of almost feels like it almost it's strange, isn't it? It's almost like the timeline kind of fits in with him if he killing this chap. It's almost like a switch flips then in terms of his personality. It cuts off all of his hair, gets this tattoo across his face of these symbols, you know, and it sort of feels like he come becomes a different person. They didn't show it in the documentary, but he'd got quite violent in court, hadn't he? And got sort of
Mm.
escorted out at one point, which I haven't seen the video of. I might try and have a look for it. But and I just wonder if the amount of attention that he was receiving with all of this kind of sent his mental health. Oh no, because I guess it had already happened, hadn't it?
Yeah, but
Previous.
maybe that was kind of like the lead up to it because, I wouldn't want that attention from people, you know?
No,
Like
no,
there's a
not like
level,
that.
we do this and people listen, um, and you think of all those podcasts that have like Joe, not I mean not Joe Rogan numbers, but millions and millions and millions.
Yeah,
And there's, I wouldn't want that kind of attention from the world. You know what I mean? And I know I'm putting myself out there doing this, but like, I wouldn't be able to, I just wouldn't want that many cameras on me and so many faces on me. And it's just weird. And I know that's kind of like I'm contradicting myself here with what we're doing. Like, do you know what I
I
mean?
was
But
gonna say any podcast sponsors are gonna be like, ah, okay then.
yeah. No, no, but that to me would feel very controlled. Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh
Whereas,
yeah, I'd always
and I
want to be
think,
able to be in control of my
yeah, like
existence.
I feel like I
Yeah,
could stop that whenever I wanted. Whereas
much
I felt
possible.
like with him, he had so many people wanting him and no one could get hold of him. He'd only talk to this Jessup guy
Yeah,
and who I felt he gave a little bit of a shit about him. Do you know what I mean? But he
yeah,
was in a different kind of like realm, I suppose, of the entertainment industry because he just did the news and, he did the sports news and stuff like that. So, it's
yeah,
probably a different thing. But when start seeing all these producers and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, yeah, money. But even they were like, oh, hang on a second. This is, you could see
yeah,
they didn't want to be attached to this project. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because it was just becoming
Yeah,
out of control,
it
you
was
know?
interesting, wasn't it? Because I mean, minus kind of like talking about him like pulling his pants down and peeing on things.
Mm,
They didn't really give too many sort of like scenarios of what his behavior was like. But at the same time, you could see that the way that they were talking about having spent time with him, they were like,
mm.
actually, his behavior was quite scary.
Yeah,
It was
because didn't
almost like
she
they couldn't
say,
name it.
didn't
It was
one of the
just sort
women
of
say, are we safe or something?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think it was just sort of like an energy around. Like so I think one
yeah,
of them said, it was just his energy, and he had this
yeah,
incredible energy, but also at times like it just felt like out of control. Which,
mm,
quite honestly, I think that's what they're getting as a snapshot of what it's like to be in his own head all the time.
yeah.
You know, I do think, yeah, there was probably some serious mental health stuff going on.
Oh, massively.
Um, and what are your thoughts on like his reasonings for killing the guy and because he still he's still claiming like not guilty, I think, didn't he? Or did he claim
Yeah,
guilty in the end?
I think,
Oh no, not guilty, yeah.
yeah, I think for me, I think he knew what he was doing and all that kind of stuff. Um, but I think what one thing that showed me is I think it was the bit where when he was arrested or something, where he was walking. I don't know. There was one bit in it, and it looked like he knew. what he was doing. And there was one clip in it, and I think it was the bit where he was walking in handcuffs. I can't remember. And I thought to myself, he's very quiet. He's
Mm,
very, and all this kind of stuff. And it made me then think some of it was maybe a performance on his part as well. So,
yeah.
which to be fair, with the whole everyone wanting a piece, I get that. You're playing up to the cameras. I get that. That bit's not a problem. It's not for me, but people do it. It's what they do. We see it every day on social media, on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But I think with the guy, because he hugged the guy was getting him a ticket and then he went and did it. He went back, didn't he? And
Yeah,
then,
see, bearing in mind that I've worked in sort of safeguarding and like I
yeah,
understand like domestic abuse and sexual abuse and stuff like that. Like people can still go back to their
no, I
offender's
know.
house and like that to me felt like the people that play like officers, they're just not trained
Oh God, no,
to
no,
understand
no,
that properly. But
no. But I don't
yeah,
know. It's just, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like when you're not there, it's hard to know. Like it could have easily happened the way he said, but it
I
also could have
definitely.
not.
But
You
this
know?
is it. I'm still in two minds about what's actually true about
Yeah,
that particular event
yeah,
personally.
yeah.
Because
And
we know nothing about the lawyer guy. I don't know what his sexual preferences were. I don't know, we don't know enough
no, and
to say,
you can't go by other people because the amount of times, oh, he was lovely, like that. That kind of stuff
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
really
that doesn't
mean.
mean anything, does
No,
it?
it doesn't
It
mean
might
anything.
be, yeah.
And I think the sad thing is in situations like this, it's like someone's going to lose. So obviously, if the guy had done exactly what he said and he felt, he said he was raped and he was,
Mm,
then he shouldn't be in prison. Do you know what I mean? It was self-defense. But if it wasn't, then unfortunately a guy's been killed. But I don't have, if that guy did do that, I don't have any sympathy for him.
mm.
None at all. Because, you
Because
know,
it's like his neighbors were like, oh, he's like a really gentle guy, and like I wouldn't, no offense to him, but I wouldn't trust him in a fist fight. And I was thinking, but that just kind of goes, it kind of actually makes a good proven point as to why he would have then drugged Kai before raping him, because he wouldn't be able to just rape him without drugging
mm,
him. So it didn't really sort of help him in that
yeah,
way. And the family and friends just seemed sort of like his mum. I just wanted to shake him. Like I do. I even just from Kai's personality, there's different selves
mm,
that he has. He has the fun and cheeky self
yeah,
that we saw, and then he has these other, the one that perhaps was more present in court, and that shows me that he has got a sense of self that's been at some point fractured. And
exactly.
usually what happens when that happens is sexual abuse quite often, or quite, violent abuse when you're a child. So I believe that he has been through some definite childhood abuse
Yeah,
for
because one of
sure.
his friends even said, because the mum obviously was like, no, but
I just
they're
wanted
going
to
to say
shake
that.
her,
They're going to
honestly.
say
Like,
that. Um, but even his friends said it about him being locked in a room or locked up or
yeah, it
something.
was his
Like, do you know what I
cousin,
mean?
wasn't it? He
His
said, like,
cousin.
he
That's it. Yeah.
definitely didn't have, and the only she like his mum had like no, there was nothing there about like the worry about his safety or even just like standing up for him. Like the only thing that she wanted to make sure that was recorded on camera was that she
She was
hadn't
in the
locked him
clear.
in a room,
She was in the
and that,
clear.
I was
Yeah.
just trying to keep him safe.
Yeah.
And then I think even when she was sort of relaying the story about being told that he'd been arrested for murder, and I can't remember what her phrase was, but it was something like, "You're joking," or like it was basically like a, "Oh." like,
Did
like,
he? Imagine
like
that. But
I
I
was
didn't do
like,
anything when he was a
God,
kid.
like there just seemed to be like a real like lack of just care at all on her part as a
Yeah.
human being. Like it was really bizarre to me. If that was my son, I would be really concerned about his well-being.
Mm,
The fact is that he still won't let her visit him in prison, which says something.
says a lot. seen a
Yeah.
lot. And I think
So,
like you see kids like that, and you know, if the guy that he killed, it was because sometimes, it was consensual, say, and then he flipped out, shit, what am I doing type thing, and it could have resulted in that. But if
yeah.
he's kind of, for me, was the impression he gave to me was a very lost person trying to just kind of fit in somewhere, but never really fitted in anywhere. And
Yeah.
then all this attention, maybe that just really, clicked something in his head because
Yeah.
everyone was loving him. But at the same time, he didn't seem to care about it that much. It,
Well, yeah, he didn't seem to. I think he did. I think he probably found it quite distressing. I had I don't know, there was just sort of moments where,
no, I mean, in the sense that some people who would love, oh, I'd love to be this famous autism. Look at all the
oh,
attention I'm
he
getting.
didn't
Yeah,
care.
in
He
that, I
didn't
meant
want
in that
to.
sense, like he
But then
didn't.
did he not want that because he's potentially already done other things previously? Like, what if this isn't the first guy that he's
Mm,
violently attacked, you know?
yeah,
That kind of the scene where they were talking about sitting in the diner and he's spinning the pencil and he's just like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna go to the beach and smoke weed, basically. I don't want to be a millionaire.
yeah, yeah.
It was interesting. I was sort of like, and I'm not saying, I I just yeah, like I think he sort of actually found his group of people on the streets. Like
Mm.
I actually think if he had had responsibility in terms of like a house and job and pensions and insurance, like I don't think he would have been able to
Oh
cope with
no,
it all,
no, no.
you know?
And because they say, like, some people they've said that are homeless. I mean, I don't know. I haven't spoken to any, asked this question to any of them, but sometimes you hear like why, like when shelters open up or something, because it's ice cold out, why they won't go inside. And it's because some people that are homeless won't go inside
Yeah, yeah,
for whatever reason.
yeah.
Um,
With
and
like
like,
rehabilitation and things like
yeah,
that, it's really tricky. If you've spent your entire life not having any, your only responsibility
yeah,
is to essentially survive and stay alive
mm,
and try and get some food in here and there. And all of a sudden you've got a roof over your head and you've got all of this security. And then it becomes a responsibility to, even down to like, making your bed every morning,
yeah,
like all these different things that just feel too much. Like a lot of people have that, I think, when
yeah,
they come off the streets and they can't. They go back because it's like, well, this feels familiar and it feels it's a comfortable level for me
yeah.
to be able to manage
They
my
know
life.
how to do that. They know
Yeah.
how to manage that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for him, like, I think it's a very tragic story before the murder.
Yeah.
And had he, I think the problem is you're never going to know truly who was in the wrong here, you know?
No, I don't think so.
Um, if if it is him that did that, I don't even think really that prison's probably, he probably needs to be in some sort of like, because where is he? What prison's he in? He's in somewhere
Um,
in where is it?
I wanted to say
New
Pennsylvania.
Jersey.
It's New Jersey, isn't
Oh,
it?
his
Yeah.
trial was biased, sorry, for taking place in New Jersey. Um, but I don't know. And he gets forgotten about. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, of course he does.
I know they've made this documentary and stuff, but I think that's the thing is you throw these people to the wolves of, the
Yeah.
public because everyone wants a piece. And then it's just like, someone else comes along. Like how many
Yeah, of
things
course
have
they
we
do.
seen? Like, do you know what I mean? Like Charlie
Yeah.
bit my finger. The guy that
Yeah.
the guy that the girls ran into when they escaped, they'd been kept captive for about 10 years. I can't remember his name now.
Mm,
That and the guy that he ran into and you get and it's just such small little things, but then it's like the next thing. And
yeah.
there needs to be more rules around this, I think we need to I don't know. I don't know how you could monitor it or whatever, but I think there needs to be, we're going to put you in this, but you're guaranteed a year's worth of therapy or something when it ends if you do
Yeah.
this, because it's going to end.
Yeah,
You're not Tom
absolutely.
Cruise here. You're not going to have that career. But
Well, it's like I mean, it's the same as the documentaries that we watch on true crime and things like
mm,
that. The Netflix will put them back, back through all of this, and they've got to
yeah,
drudge it all back up and talk about it again. And there's potential of it re-traumatizing them. But do they get any mental health support when they're having to
I
discuss
couldn't
this?
see that.
You know?
I couldn't see anyone really given a toss because all they care about is like the money being made. Like even when these documentaries are made, like when we, you know, we did when we even watched like the Eileen Warnes one, and
Mm,
like there's always this element of even though she deserves to be well, obviously she's got uh the death penalty and stuff like that, but somebody's trying to make something off of her, and she's spoken about in some things where she didn't see a penny for all this stuff. When we
yeah,
talked about the devil made me do it, the devil
yeah,
on trial, sorry, and how the Warrens walked off with money, and they did. And that's the thing is
yeah.
when something is money based, it's really hard to
But
trust it.
this is also, what happens is that quite often the most vulnerable people are the ones that, you know, get, exploited,
Yeah.
because people think they can. And whether that's because you're in a minority group or your mental health isn't great or you're poor or people just think you're a little bit mad.
Well, I think
Um,
with him, you could have seen he's in New Jersey, Trenton prison. I
right.
think with him, like they copped on pretty quickly that there was a
Mm,
problem there, and it should have been shut down. Like I don't know. You got to wonder
yeah.
what would have happened with him had he just been kind of not found again because of how much trouble it took to find him.
Well, he didn't really want to be found, did he?
No,
Let's be
exactly.
honest.
But
Like, it seemed
he,
like Jessup had been emailing him
mm,
and he hadn't been responding. And maybe that was because he couldn't get to his email or something. I did that.
because he used a
Who knows?
friend's phone, didn't he, to call back or something?
Right, yeah. So, but and they literally, tracked him down essentially. And I can see, I think quite often people will kind of like train their brain to be like, but we're offering this guy a chance of a lifetime. He could be a self-made millionaire overnight just by being himself. Like he's homeless, like we want to help him, you
Yeah,
know.
look at us.
And he's quite clearly gone, I don't want it. Like I'd rather just go to the beach and smoke some weed
Yeah,
and
he makes it
you
quite
know?
clear, doesn't he? But
Yeah.
without being aggressive about it. He's just
Yeah.
like, and I think
It's like I don't want it.
but when he goes to Jimmy Kimmel, like, I think then I was just like, this isn't for this guy. Like, do you know what I mean?
Mm,
I mean, all the way up until then, you're like, it's almost like he's trying to sabotage it. Like, do you know what I mean? With his behavior. But,
yeah.
someone should have just been like, nah, let's shut this down. Or there should be something in place before this happens, um, let's get someone in to talk to this guy and see is he able for this. I mean, you
Mm,
can go out and murder people, 20 people, and they will see, are you, because you'll be like, oh, I was insane. And you'll get someone to sit and talk to you just to decide were you or not. But him who,
oh, like he would
you know
he
what I
would
mean?
get insanity. Yeah, like that
Yeah.
he'd probably get
But
off
someone
from a
should have spoke
murder.
to him, I think, before. I think if you're going to offer this type of fame and money to someone, because you hear about people that win the lottery, apparently most of them lose it within years. And this is
Of course
millions
they
and
do.
millions of pounds because you're not equipped. So I
No,
think that, if
people
you're
don't
going
know
to
how to
throw
invest it
someone out into the
properly.
telly, in the world like that, maybe there needs to be kind of something at the beginning to see. And I
I
know
mean,
people be like, well, it's up to them, it's their choice. But I think we see, because some people are very successful when they do like they get a viral thing or they go on
sure,
like look
they
at
know how to
Kelly
invest
Clarkson on
it and they're
American Idol.
clever.
Like she's a massive star now, but can you name all the others? Like, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
this is it.
It's just this weird. I think it's awful, and I, as a person, couldn't be part of that. I couldn't be on a team where I know that I could potentially be screwing someone's
Yeah,
life
like
that bad.
exploiting someone who,
Yeah,
for monetary gain. It's
I
icky.
just
This is
couldn't
what I
do
mean.
it.
It's icky behavior to me. Like it
Yeah,
that whole industry
100%.
to me
Yeah.
is grim, personally.
Yeah, no, and there was a time where, when I was younger, I'd have loved to have been famous and all this kind of stuff, an actress and all that kind of stuff. But then the reality of it is like, no, I wouldn't. And I don't want
But
my child to want to do any of that, which so far she doesn't want any part of that kind of world, which is good.
But you see that. I mean, some people may look at like true crime podcasts the same way, right? Like we're kind of going back over. I mean, we're not making any monetary gain from it. We're just setting up a podcast and chatting about
Yeah.
films that we've watched. It's different, but that. But potentially in the future, if we were to make any money off of it or something, that we, do we then question our morals? I think it is with anything, isn't it? You sort
I
of.
think with the true crime, because I know a few people in the true crime world, and like one in particular, they got a message from a family, you
Mm.
know, take that down. And, that person messaged
Sure.
me and I said, look, take it down. You know what I mean? Just take it down. And he was like, yeah, okay. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a big thing. And I think that's the thing,
Yeah.
because some people love, like with true crime, they just want, especially if it's like a unsolved or missing person or something like that, they just want as much info out as possible. Other people do want the story told. But yeah, you're right. There are some people that just want it um laid to rest.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there will be.
yeah, and I think that's more of a kind of like, we're if it ever gets that way, you cross that bridge when it comes to it. But I think when it comes to talking about these things, you got to be respectful of it. You can't, like, there's some
Yeah.
podcasts that, they do make fun a bit, and they want all the gory details and stuff like that. That's not really who
Which is
I
their
am.
prerogative, and there will be
Yeah.
people that
And
do
people want to listen
want
to
to
it, but
listen. Yeah.
we're sitting, people talk about all different things at the end of the day. And I know there is a thing. I think for me with the true crime, I mean, I've been kind of doing this, not podcasting, but the whole true crime thing since the 80s. Like, what I mean? It was an interest I had when I saw something on Jack the Ripper, and it just carried on.
Yeah.
I didn't just get into it because it's now a trendy thing to do. Like, it's kind of one of the top,
Yeah.
if not the top category of podcasting.
Yeah.
Um, some people get into it because they want to make money of it. Some people get into it because it's the new thing and they've got an interest or whatever. It's always been my thing. Like, even if podcasting exists, I'd still be reading about it and watching it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I do, and I don't do a true crime podcast. We're not doing podcasts on episode on everyone. So, and I'm not saying so that makes me, better than,
That makes me
it's not that, but I think
okay. Yeah.
I think you've got to kind of know, like, I listened to this one podcast, I can't remember which one it was, and they donate some of their money
That's
to
good.
like a cause,
Yeah.
like a some sort of violent, kind of
I
cause
like
type thing.
that.
And that,
That's good.
so for me, that's a good idea. I think you got to check your own morals behind it, and yourself, and I know what I'm like. So if you started going, we're gonna do this, I don't give a shit, I'd be like, well, you can do it on your own then. Like, do you know
Mm.
what I mean? I wouldn't do it,
Yeah.
and nor would you,
No,
you
no.
know? So I think it's about checking your own, yourself, whether you're trying to screw someone over or not, you know?
Well, yeah, and then this, like, I did find myself watching watching this one in particular, the Hatchet-Wielding Hitchhiker, in a different way to some of the other ones
Mm,
the other sort of documentaries and films that we've watched, because it sort of felt, yeah, there's still so much unknown about Kai, and I must admit I felt quite a lot of empathy for him, not for what not for potentially what he's done, um, but way more than I would necessarily in any other context of previous, like, other serial killers. Because
mm.
obviously, I guess this is slightly different in the sense that supposedly this is just one person that he's murdered, I think, right?
Well, he, um, so he hasn't made any money from this from Netflix. He said, "So Netflix is making a movie about my life before I was arrested, but they refused to pay me for anything for it. If someone made a movie about O.J. Simpson's football career, you better believe he'd be making bank off it."
That.
And then he goes on to say, "Guys who kill and rape women get money for their pre-arrest fame, but I saved women from being killed and allegedly killed a rapist. So Netflix is ruthlessly exploiting me. What the fuck?" So that's what he said. So he hasn't got anything for
Interesting.
it. Um, and I mean, he himself though said alleged. Oh yeah, because he allegedly he mustn't think he killed him or something because allegedly. Oh, allegedly. Yeah, it's weird that he used that word actually. So he's saying he's innocent, isn't he?
Yeah,
So
he still
yeah, yeah,
claims that he
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. So that's where that comes from. But
Yeah,
I think that it's just with him. I just think it's a very freaking sad story, and
yeah,
he
it
was
is.
was and is um exploited before and after. So he got exploited by Netflix, and now if they didn't give him any money, or
Yeah,
you know what, they should, because he got convicted, so that means they found him guilty of murdering this guy. That some money should have gone to his family. Do you know what I mean, or
yeah,
whoever is in his, um, and money should, because it's his story, but he's pleading innocent. So if they've taken all the money, then yes, that's pretty shit. Or give it to, you know,
well, yeah. Donate
a
some of it
donation
to
or something.
give
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
would have given into here. I mean,
yeah.
unless that was a stance that they were making in the sense of, we're not giving you money because you've done this. I don't know, but
But
like,
they could have given it to someone.
yeah, they could have given, they
You know,
donated. I mean, maybe they
I do.
haven't. Who knows? But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it is weird them making us, but like you say, like when someone, I think the thing is because this one, like when someone makes a documentary about, I mean, I know he's dead, but say Ted Bundy or Ed Kemper's not dead. I
Mm.
don't give a shit whether they think they should get money or not because we
Yeah,
know they did it.
yeah,
We know they did
yeah,
it. I would like the money to go to their victims' families. That would be a good way. And I know it was quite a long time ago, but there's, children are still alive from parents that were murdered. Um, but with him, because there's that uncertainty,
yeah.
it's a bit harder to say, I don't give a shit if he gets anything, because I think he was failed by the system as well, you
Oh
know?
God, yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so it's a bit,
And
you can't really
failed by
compare
multiple
him.
systems, I think, hasn't he? Really?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
starting with
compare
his
him
family.
to a well-known serial killer who, has admitted to doing it all. We know they did it all. It's a very different scenario. And I think that's another thing when it
Yeah,
comes to true crime. You can't take every case the same, you know?
yeah, I'm learning that.
Every Yeah, yeah. Like, I
Definitely.
like my feelings about certain things differ from person to person because you gotta look at, you know,
You got
the
to look at it
facts of it.
individually, haven't you? And
Yeah,
yeah, come
look
to your
take
come to your own conclusion about it, like you would with
yeah,
any
yeah,
film or documentary as well, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I just think I don't know. But I do think before it happened, there were signs that something wasn't right. So, you know,
Well, this is it, right? I think this is the recurring theme that always happens when, in every episode that we talk about is that there could have been something to that could
mm,
have stopped this from happening.
they can in
Always,
some
right?
cases. It really can. Not in
Yeah.
all.
Not in all, but
But
yeah.
like with Eileen Wuornos, I feel like if someone at the beginning of her life had given a shit,
Yeah.
I don't think that would have happened. But that's
Yeah.
just my opinion. I may be wrong, but it did happen and she got the punishment you know, I don't know if I believe in the death penalty, but she got convicted, which she deserved to be, because at the end of the
Mm.
day, I don't think all those men, did do that to her. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a tough one. But we all have our opinions and, thoughts on what it is, which is fine. That's all part of it.
It's
But
tricky though, isn't it? Because obviously if he is claiming that he was raped by this guy and this guy and that isn't true, that guy is forever going to be
yeah, because like
remembered
me and
as a
you,
rapist, you know?
we're wondering, did he deserve what he got because of what he did?
Yeah, I was like, did he do it? Or because
Yeah,
he also made up the thing about the lacing the joint
yeah,
for the driver because he was out with the musician, wasn't he? And he
yeah,
was saying like, oh, I like laced this guy's joint, and
yeah.
he just like lost it. But then they did a toxicology report on the guy, and there was no.
It's fine. Yeah.
It was just they just found marijuana. So you can't. It's tricky, and in any other instance, I wouldn't even question someone if they said that they'd been raped ever.
Hmm.
But there's just something about this that you know, maybe there was some sort of um, altercation between them both. I don't, who knows? But yeah, either it happened and he pushed him off and he left, and someone else has done what they've
Hmm.
done to this guy, or there's different variations, or he did it. I don't know.
But playing devil's advocate here, right? You said
Yeah,
you would never question anyone if they said they were raped, right?
not straight off the bat, no.
What do you mean?
Like if someone came to me and said that they'd been raped,
Oh
I
yeah, you wouldn't go
would be
straight
like,
into where's your evidence of this?
no,
No,
yeah,
no, 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 no,
exactly.
no,
But if
no.
yeah,
Um, yeah, because I think with that, it's very easy with the people you don't know to be like believe. But if someone come up to you and said a very close male to you had done it, they'd rape
yeah.
someone, you'd be like, that doesn't sound like them. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well,
And I,
particularly the men that I know, I'd be
yeah,
like,
yeah, well, exactly. But
hold on a
that's
minute.
one
Wait
thing.
for
Like,
yeah, yeah,
there are false accusations which ruin it for the people it's actually been done to. But
yeah,
I think with crime of anything, it doesn't matter what it is even if you were told, your husband went in and did an armed robbery in Barclays Bank, you'd be like, that doesn't sound like him. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
that's what I mean. Everyone has
yeah, yeah,
their, so I think it's a really interesting thing with crime is everybody's guilty until it's somebody we really know and trust. And
yeah.
then we question it.
Is that a UK based thing though? Because we're very much the kind of like guilty until proven innocent, whereas America are very much kind of like innocent until proven guilty, aren't they?
I don't know.
Mm.
But I think if you went up to, you know, someone like I know people in America and they would be like, nah, there's no way John did it. John's a great guy. Like, do you
He's a
know what I
great guy.
mean? Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it's like the death
Yeah,
penalty. We're all for it until it's someone that we love that's on death row, and
sure thing. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's
Particularly if
easy
we,
to
yeah,
it's easy to have an opinion when it doesn't affect you. And that's kind
yeah,
of I
yeah,
think, but I think when it affects you, um, it's a very different, you would question it more, no matter what it was.
yeah,
But I think the problem is when it comes to sexual assault, especially against women, I think when they like so many cases aren't reported because people automatically go to the did they though, what you wearing
mm,
type thing. Um, but there's always those one or two that actually didn't do it that get caught up in it. But I think we need to work on teams actually being there to actually ask the questions and talk to people in a really sympathetic way
yeah,
rather than everything's either or. It's like, well, look what you were wearing. You had a drink, stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know. I think the whole thing
yeah,
needs a bit of um, a relook at, but that's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Because I personally don't think it's going to happen. I think we tend to blame victims for everything, you know?
Do you think that's still the case? Like it's still very
I
much
do, yeah.
we're a
I
victim
do.
blaming.
Well, even
Interesting,
in
yeah.
school the other day, one of the kids come in with a skirt on and showed that she had shorts on underneath it. She's 9, she's 10.
Well, she had to show that she was wearing
She was
shorts.
like, oh, but because it was a short skirt. And she was like, oh, but I got shorts on. And I said to her, I says, I used to do that. I says, my kid
Wow.
went to school at 4 and I made sure she had shorts on under her skirt at 4.
It's so bizarre though, isn't it? Like that's
Yeah.
such a strange thing to me that like, oh, you've got to wear shorts underneath your skirt in
Well,
case
it's not
you.
fair. It's not fair on the boys, is it? That's what you're told.
What? It's not fair on the boys for what? That
Because they
they
shouldn't.
can't wear
It's not.
skirts or
It's not fair that they should have to look at a 10-year-old girl's knickers because they might,
oh, for God's
Oh,
sake.
honestly, the shit.
Wow.
And I used to drive to school, past a school, and the girls in school uniforms were obviously children because they were in school uniforms, and
Yeah.
I'd be walking, and I would. grown men in their 50s, their tongues would be hanging out of their mouths staring at them. And I'm like, you know, they're kids.
Is
You
that
can't put,
still happening?
oh, yeah, yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. And I'm
I
like,
thought that was
you,
just like a thing from our
no, no,
age. Oh, that's
no.
grim.
The thing I see them looking at my child and she's 9. They
So
stare and
weird.
leer. And I'm just like, drives me mad. And I'm like, when they're in a school uniform, like obviously mine, you knows, but I know sometimes teenage girls can look older, but they're in school uniforms. You know, they're children. Honestly, it drives me mad. But
Yeah,
all we
it's a
hear is cover
weird
it up.
concept, isn't it? The whole
Yeah.
kind of objectification of children and like, I mean, it's yeah, it's grim, but it's God. I thought we were in a better place than that. I didn't
No.
realize it was
I
still
saw this post the
that
other
present.
day, and this woman
Oh,
said,
God.
she was like, "You make us take self-defense. You make us carry pepper spray. You make us do this, that, and
Yeah,
the other." And then she turns around and goes, "And then you don't believe us when we tell you what's happened. But you're
yeah,
telling us to do all these things to prevent this happening, and then when we tell you it's happened, you don't believe us."
yeah. And
You know?
where is the training and the like
No.
education for men?
So
Yeah.
no, we haven't. I just think
Yeah.
people need to leave each other alone and just piss off. That's kind of my theory with everything. Just leave everybody
Just
alone.
leave it for like,
Just leave
yeah.
everyone alone, and it's nothing to do with even being a woman. It's just
Oh,
leave
like
people alone.
even like from training as a therapist, like I don't I'm really I'm actually probably quite bad at it, but I wouldn't naturally I used to be quite a, like a handsy and huggy person.
Mm.
I'm not like that anymore because you sort of you don't know what someone's been through and you don't know how comfortable someone is, particularly
Well,
if
they
I
might
you
think,
know,
yeah,
work with a lot of
mm,
neurodivergents as well. Like people don't like being touched, they don't like being
no,
hugged, they don't want any of these
no,
things.
I don't.
Yeah, exactly. And I learned through all of that, but actually I
Mm.
didn't either. You know, it was socially conditioned into me by parents and family. Oh, God, you've got to hug and kiss Auntie so and so, and
Mm.
you know, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I probably didn't mind. But there probably were times that I was like, I don't really want to give people kisses and hugs there. I'm not in the mood for it, you know?
Yeah, we don't make
No,
mine do that.
no,
No, she chooses, and you can tell a mile off who they want to. And it's not because anybody's done anything. They
no. It's
just,
just who they're
yeah, and
comfortable
she's
with,
very
isn't it?
much about which she's not really like, she likes a couple of blokes, like she likes Steve,
Yeah,
and obviously my brother and Brooke and stuff like that, but she's not very good with grown men that aren't basically, people that I would
yeah,
introduce her to, like, you
which
know what I
is
mean?
fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah. Uh,
I know.
bonkers stuff. But yeah, yeah, with Kai, it's just like I don't know. I do just feel kind of sorry for him. Like I was expecting to find him really irritating. And because I think perhaps maybe initially when I did watch it, I did probably find him a little bit like, who is this
He's
guy?
just very
Like, what?
childlike. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
but childlike, but intelligent at the same time.
yeah,
Like he definitely has got a really kind of like high intelligence there. But then there's also this aspect of him that
mm,
just feels so childlike and
yeah,
so, vulnerable in some sense. But I can't tell if that's like a false self
yeah,
that he lives in and actually
yeah,
the angry, calculated version of him is the
mm,
real version. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah.
He hides behind this
You'll
kind of
never
like,
truly know, you know.
no,
But I hope, even when people go to prison for the most despicable things, I'd love it if there was something in there to help them, kind
yeah,
of not
rehabilitate.
not release them, but
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
you'd love it if a lot more of them went, you know what, I was wrong and showed remorse or whatever. Or, if they're in there for whatever reason, there was some sort of, because obviously there's something not right with him, but they're probably
Mm.
just left in there to, fend
But
for
they are just left in
themselves.
there because I imagine to a degree it's just like, well, they're not coming out, so what's the point in trying
Yeah.
to
The ones that are
rehabilitate
there
them?
for life. Yeah.
Yeah, just let them
Yeah.
exist, give them the 3 meals a day. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
that was
So
cheery.
I know. I know. God.
Which is interesting actually, because out of all the films and documentaries we watched, Kai in particular is probably one of the more like cheerier, sort
I
of
know.
like,
But yeah, it was really depressing at the
carefree.
same time.
But actually, yeah, it's really depressing. So yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Watch it. If you've not
Yeah.
seen it, go watch it.
Go
Get
be
depressed.
depressed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to leave that one there. And if you want to follow us, go to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as The Room Went Dark, or you can email us at theroomwentdark@gmail.com. And we will chat to you again next week. Bye.
Yes, bye.